The Prophet of Thought series. Open mind. Prophet of Thought series. Open your mind. Prophet of Thought series. Open your mind. Prophet of Thought series.
Peace, folks, and welcome back to another edition of the Prophet of Thought series, right here on the old TPOT YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but you know that already. That's why you're here. Tonight, we're going to be talking about coons, and not just coons the way you think it's going to be, because I actually use the word coons, C.O.O.N.S, as an acronym, calling out other Negroes' stupidity. So it's probably not. What's up, brother B.J.? What's good? It's not what you think it's going to be, but you know, here on the old TPOT YouTube page, it hardly ever is, because you know I'm always playing on words. What's up, Char to the Wheel? What's good? I'm always playing on the words. Quizzle in the house. Is that brother Laquan? Is that L or I? You know my damn eyes bad, man. Is that brother Laquan? I Quizzle or L Quizzle? Or am I just reading the shit wrong? I don't know. But yeah. So you know, brother X always plays on the words, so it's probably never what you think it is. But yeah. So tonight, that's what we're going to be talking about. And if I have my way, we're going to be joined by brother Cerulean Gray and the master teacher, if he got my email. That is. Oh, that is brother Laquan. So that's L Quizzle, not I Quizzle. I'll make a note of that. What's good, brother Laquan? Yeah, man. Yeah, I want to talk about this tonight, man, because you know, we have a tendency to throw the word coon around WOTP in the house. What's good? We have a tendency to throw the word coon around. You hear it often. You hear it just as much as you hear, well, probably more than you hear Sambo and Uncle Tom and self-hater and all that kind of stuff. So I thought tonight we would just talk about it a little bit because I think that we have a tendency to use it out of context many, many times, because what a lot of people probably don't know is that that word coon actually comes, well, in reality, what the word really is short for raccoon. But it was a word that white people used to use to degrade us, believe it or not. I mean, so we done took a word that white folks used to use to degrade us, and now we're using it to degrade other black people. We take the word and we use it and we focus it on anyone who doesn't believe what we believe. You know what I'm saying? If you don't believe what I believe, you're a coon. If you don't think the way I think, you're a coon. If I think that you're doing something that's uh degrading to other black people, you're a coon. If my ideology is different from yours, oh, you're a coon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down some of these coon terminologies. They say that coon, the top definition for coon is, of course, an insulting term for a black person. Also, a coon is a black guy who worships white girls and does not like his own race. A black guy who barely claims being black. What else we got here? Also an insulting term used by both black and white folks. When used by whites, it literally translates to nigger. When used by us black folks, it's describing an Uncle Ruckus type character, a black person who is ignorant to white discrimination and unknowingly suffers with self-hatred. A black man who, once again, a black man who dates only white women or only find white women attractive. Let me see what else we got. Oh, a coon is also a black actor or actress who takes the roles that stereotypically portrays black people. They think they've made it, but they are slaves to the same images, also known as a sellout. It says here it comes from the term barracoons, which means a cage where they used to place Africans who were waiting to be sent to America to be slaves. They had no idea of this, so some of them were even eager wading into the barracoons. So just think about that, y'all. Think about that. That word coon comes from the term barracoons, and those barracoons were a cage that black people were kept in lieu of being sent to America. Now, you probably never heard that definition before, have you? Of course you haven't, but you always hear shit you haven't heard right here on the old TPOT YouTube page. Let me see what else we got here. An insulting name for a black person, similar to nigga again. Derogatory term for a black person, similar to nigger, originally shortened from the word raccoons, used in reference to the animal, the black eye mask, and the nocturnal habits of the animal paralleled the characteristics of typical robbers and thieves. The stereotype was then applied to black people. So a coon is also a thief-like character. Let me see what else we got. Oh, they say coons. The plural of coons means multiple Australian aboriginals. Didn't know that one. Let me see what else we got here. Of course, another derogatory name for black person. Raccoon, Maine Coon. Coon is basically a sellout in the African American community, or a better definition is when you are of the race you're talking down upon. A coon is an offensive word again for a black person, similar to other words such as niggers, spear chucker, porch monkey, bubble lip, blue gum, tar baby, moon cricket. Never heard that one before, moon cricket. And not to mention the other dozens of silly slurs. I might have to use that one, moon cricket. that one's kind of funny. but y'all get the idea. This is the thing. This is what bothers me when people throw around the word coon. First and foremost, like I said earlier, we often throw that term coon around, man. And I mean, a lot of us, we just do it because we hear other people say it. We hear other people talk about it on media. We hear other people talk about it on the radio and on videos and everything else. Therefore, what do? We use it, right? We use it because we heard someone else use it. And the person who was using it, more than likely, they were using it out of context as well. They were using it out of context. So we adapted and we throw that word around to anybody who disagrees with us is automatically a coon. Automatically. Anybody who disagrees with us is automatically a sellout. Anybody who disagrees with us is automatically an Uncle Tom. And the term Uncle Tom, we've been using that one wrong too. All right. Because if you really want to know, the real term that we're looking for is Sambo, not Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom is the wrong word to use. We should be using Sambo. Okay, look it up. I'm not telling y'all that one. Y'all gonna have to do some research on your own. You have to do some Googling. You'll know what I'm talking about. Get back to me. All right. Quit using the word Uncle Tom. Use Sambo. Trust me, fits better. But yeah, we have a tendency to use a lot of words out of context just because we think we should be using them. And one thing about us as black people, man, we have a tendency, man, to often use shaming language, man. We like shaming each other. We like shaming other black people. We like especially when someone's saying something and we can't counter their argument with the argument of our own, or an argument that's as intelligent as the argument they're making, we start throwing names at them. We start saying shit like coon and sellout and self-hater and all this kind of crap. And a lot of it is really ridiculous because, see, I'm a true believer that if someone's making an argument that I disagree with, I think I stand a better chance and I look better as a man if I counter that argument. Okay? If I come with a counter argument, I think I'm standing up to that person better as opposed to just calling them a name, calling them stupid, calling them a coon, calling them a Sambo, or calling them whatever. You know, I don't think that that's helping my argument any by attacking them, by calling them names. So that's something we need to start getting away from too. Also, whenever you hear, and I want y'all to think about this, whenever you hear someone use the term coon, the next time you hear somebody say coon, ask him the definition. And I guarantee you, most of them will not have a definition for it. What they might have is something that somebody else said on media. They won't have their own definition for it. They'll repeat something word for word that they heard someone else say on media. Guaranteed. You listen to their definition. That's if they have one. because they might just say something stupid like a black person who hates other black people. You know, they might say something stupid like that because that's usually the default. Oh, that's a black person who hate all black people. Might say that, they might give you the default. But if they do say something besides that default answer, I guarantee you, if you look, and you won't have to look long on media, you'll find that word for word somewhere else. Because see, man, we as black people, man, we got to be careful, man, about the sayings we adapt. What's up, Lady Cats? One of the unicorns is in the house. I see you up there. We got to be careful about the words we use, the words we adapt, especially when we're using shaming words. It's probably a good idea if we're going to decide to adapt a word to use to shame people. It'll probably be a good idea if we understand the meaning of that word before we decide to use it against one. Because I don't think it's a good idea for me to adapt the word and start using it against somebody, especially when I don't know the true meaning of it. I'm just saying it because someone else is saying it. For instance, Brother Cerulean, who'll be on here in a little while, often says flying monkeys, right? Flying monkeys. Now, what if I was to pick up that and I start calling people flying monkeys? How can I pick up that description as flying monkeys to somebody when I don't even know how Brother Cerulean is using it? But I just start calling everybody flying monkeys. Just look at people in the chat and be like, oh man, you're a flying monkey. That doesn't make any sense. So I think the word coon should be taken that way. If you feel like you want to call somebody a coon, you better make sure you're using that damn term the way you understand it. Not just because you heard somebody else say it. You heard me say it. You heard somebody else in media say it. Because I think we throw that shit around way too much. Way too much. Sort of like the word thought. I think we throw that word around too damn much. Yeah, I think we throw it around way too much. I think we throw it around way too much. That and other things. I mean, because how we speak, man, and how we talk, I think makes a difference. The terms we use makes a difference. I just believe that in everything in me. I think we have to be a little more careful about how we talk. I think we have to be a little more careful about how we describe people and the things we say about people. I think we have to be way more careful, man, because a lot of times, man, we'll find ourselves saying things that don't make no goddamn sense. I think we need to do a little more thinking, man, and a lot less talking. And if we're going to talk a lot, it should be after we have thought a lot. Maybe y'all didn't hear me. I'll say it again. If we're going to talk a lot, it should be after we have thought a lot. And I'm not just saying that because this is the Prophet of Thought series. I'm saying this because I want y'all to think. All right. I'll say this, and I say this all the time. I don't want y'all to think like me. I don't want y'all to think like members of my team. I don't want y'all to think like the guests who come on this show. But I do want you to think, period. That's what this is all about. That's what the Prophet of Thought series is all about. Getting you to open your mind, change your mind, think. That's what this is for. This is the frontistery. And maybe some of you don't know what frontistery means. And I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to Google that too. Yeah, Google it. Google frontistery, because if you've been following me long enough, you should know it by now. So Google that too. And you'll know next time when you see one of those videos come up and I say, this is X from the Prophet of Thought series. You know the frontistery. You'll know what I'm talking about. All right. So if you decide to use that word, at least you'll know what the definition of it is. Also, Tomorrow, of course, y'all need to be here tomorrow, because tomorrow the Unicorn 4 will be in the house live and direct. And tomorrow's topic is going to be wicked. It's the exclusive, explicit expectations. It's going to be a series of, it's going to be a gambit of topics. Of course, we're going to be talking about what women want, far as sex and the things leading to sex, what they like. We're going to be talking about what women like to do to us as men. And we're also going to be talking about I should say the quote unquote over sexualization of Black children. Are Black people, are we over sexualized as men and as women? Are Black people over sexualized? So it's gonna be a whole, it's gonna be a whole gamut. Tomorrow's gonna be wicked. Yeah, tomorrow's gonna be a wicked show. I'm looking forward to it because the unicorns always lay it down. They always lay it down. Let me see. Let me check on Brother Cerulean. Let me see. Damn, I might have sent it to the wrong damn email. It probably wasn't good, huh? Let's see. Yeah, because I was trying to get Brother Cerulean. I wanted to get Brother Cerulean up here, the master teacher up here. Of course, my man Valdez up here. And I was also trying to get LAR Movement up here. But LAR couldn't do it tonight. So hopefully I can get the master teacher, because I did reach out to the master teacher. I reached out to Brother Cerulean, and I reached out to Brother Valdez. So hopefully I can get somebody to come through. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about tonight. Like I said, tomorrow it's gonna be crazy. And like I was just talking about, man, we got to be careful, man, about how we talk, man, and how we speak, man. And I think a lot of us, man, have a tendency to talk about shit that we don't know nothing about. Some of the most unqualified individuals are often giving people life advice when they don't even got their own lives together. They're not in a predicament to be giving people life advice because their lives are chaotic. That's why I don't give a lot of life advice, because who the hell am I to be giving y'all life advice? I don't know shit about life. I don't know shit about life. Shit, I didn't start figuring life out till I was like 36. So I'm not the person to be giving you life advice. I can give you man advice because I've been a man a long time. I can give you work advice because I've been working my whole damn life. I can give you advice about starting a business because I have one, but doesn't mean my life is all, doesn't mean my life is all goddamn together. Don't get it twisted. I have my shit too. I have my ups, I have my downs, I have my problems. I have my ins, my outs, and being that this is a dark exodus, we're gonna get into some darkness of this Coon shit as well. But far as giving y'all advice about things, I just don't think that I'm suited to be giving y'all life advice. I can give y'all my opinion, what I think, but I don't really consider it advice. Yeah, I don't consider it advice, because a lot of the shit that people need to hear, they probably need a better person than me giving them advice about that particular thing. Because see, I look at things like this, y'all. If I get up here and I talk to y'all about whatever, I mean, because we talk about a lot of things up here, man, that concern, black folks. I mean, that's what we do up here. We talk about shit that concern black people. So if I'm going to get up here and I'm going to talk to y'all about shit, I better damn well applying it now, or be willing to apply it. I'm not the person who's going to get up here and tell you to do some shit that I'm not willing to do, or I haven't done, or I'm not doing right now. That's stupid. Anything I tell y'all to do or give you advice on doing, I've done the shit, or I'm doing it now, or will do it. You understand? So I don't believe that y'all should even be listening to people to tell you. Because, for instance, you got a lot of people on the internet right now who are talking, and we hear this often. We've heard it since forever. They tell you that, oh, black people should be doing this, black people should be doing that. Buy black, invest in the hood, look out for black folks, give black folks jobs, and also kind of nonsense. And these people are doing none of that shit. None of the shit that they're telling you to do are they doing. Okay? Now, I myself, and I confess myself that I just started doing it a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago. All right? That's why before then, if you look in my stuff, you go back 3 years ago in my stuff, you never heard me saying hire black folks, invest in black folks, buy black shit. You never heard me say that shit. Why would I? I wasn't doing it. Now, though, I actually hire black people. Black people work for me. So I do give black people jobs, and I do look out for black folks. So now I'm in a position to say, hey, look, man, y'all should hire, some of the brothers from the hood. Y'all should hire the brothers, give them an opportunity. Why am I telling you that? Because I do the shit myself. Do you understand what I'm getting at, folks? You understand what I'm getting at? So you have to you can't tell people things. You can't tell people to do shit that you're not prepared to do yourself, or shit you haven't done yourself. You can't do it, man, because you're just talking out of thin air, because you don't really have no experience in it. You don't really have no experience in it. So you're not the person to be telling people to do these things, because you have not taken that step yourself. So you're not in any position to tell people what it's going to be like, what it is like, what it's not like. You have no experience in it. So therefore, you shouldn't be telling people the shit. So that's my position. So when I'm talking to y'all about shit and I'm telling y'all, look, I used to do this, I used to do that. This is my opinion on this. I'm telling you this because I've done this shit. All right? I've done it. I've lived it. I've been around it. I've seen it. It's happened to me. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's how it's always going to be. Now, am I willing to get up here and share my whole life with y'all? Hell no, because some stuff ain't for y'all to know. But when it comes to the topics that we talk about, usually I always go into, I throw in some of my own little experience and shit, so I can kind of put things, into context and all that kind of shit. Now, some people will look at this shit and be like, oh man, he's a coon, just because I said that, because we like to throw the coon. We like to throw that coon term around so much. Some people may be sitting back calling me a coon about what I'm, just because I'm talking about this shit here. Oh man, he's cooning. Because in their mind, that's the term that need to be used. So, I may be being called a coon right now, but I don't care. You can call me a coon all you want. I don't give a shit. I know I love my people and I actually look out for my people. And I guarantee you, those people who always calling you coon and Sambo and shit like that, those same people who throw that term around, they're the same people who don't do shit for black folks. Don't look out for black folks. Don't hire black folks. And the first person they'll try to freaking persuade or disrespect will be a black person. But quick to call somebody a damn coon. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And we done been joined by Brother Cerulean Gray. What's good, Brother Cerulean?
Oh, greetings, esteemed Prophet Xavier.
Yeah, I'm just going on one of my rants. Talking about coons.
Oh, yes, coons. I actually have a working definition of a coon.
Okay.
Quote unquote. Uh, is any Negro, this is the first part of the definition, any Negro who is overly critical of the pathology and dysfunction of blacks without any critical analysis of the underlying causes of the events, policies, or other outside influences, such as environment, that not only created but incubated and exacerbated the dysfunction which they criticize. Two, any Negro who invests more time into criticizing the Negro community than they invest in actually putting in the work to enhance the conditions of the community in order to prevent, or at least at the very um, base, mitigate the effects of those dysfunctions.
Now,
And then there's the element of profitability, in which you have those Negro adherents who parakeet uh, uh, basically talking points that are used by white society, especially in mainstream media, to make whites feel comfortable about the status quo.
mm,
Which is
now,
interesting because white people don't need anybody to speak
you
for them.
got to echo. You got to
They
echo,
have a.
Brother Cerulean. I can hear myself.
All right, how about now?
Let me see. Yep, still can hear myself.
Okay, let me try. Now,
Okay. Can't hear myself now.
so yeah, there's that in which you have those adherents of black society who have taken on this ability all their own to speak for the sympathies of white people. Problem with that is that white people, black people to speak for them. They're perfectly capable of speaking for themselves. In fact, that's exactly how
Now you
of
fading in and out.
ideas is by them sleeping media. You have, and that's used like black on black violence and things of that nature.
You're fading out a little bit, Brother
All right,
Cerulean.
how not now?
Still fading.
Okay, let me see if I disabled it. Okay, how about now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Perfectly. But I can also hear myself.
Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch devices
Okay.
and try it that way. Let's see.
Let me see if Streamlabs will let me. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna put the old Streamlabs in the chat, just in case you're feeling generous. Feel like you want to throw a few pennies in the bucket. It would be greatly appreciated. Throw some likes in that bucket too. Can I get some likes in the bucket? Even if you don't throw a few pennies in the bucket, throw one like in the bucket, if you don't mind, folks. Throw a like in the bucket. If you're cheap with your money, don't be cheap with the likes.
Okay, how am I coming in now?
Clear, very clear.
Okay, so I guess I have to log in from my laptop from now on.
Okay, yeah, it's clear now.
So yeah, there was this adherence of black people, and this is coming a lot from black males, but I hear it from some black women as well, where they feel like they need to take up for white people, right? Or speak on their behalf in a sympathetic kind of way, like we don't need to be blaming white people for all of our issues, and and all that, which to some extent is actually true. Because the thing is that whenever I say coon, right, I'm not saying that you're speaking on, I'm not saying that white people are responsible for our collective condition. What I'm saying is a very specific group of white people are responsible for our collective condition.
Mm-hmm.
And that specific group is what we call the government, the state,
mm-hmm.
who manufacture social illnesses that affect the black community the most, but not directly, not specific to us. For instance, you have black on black violence, which is really a fallacy, because it's like saying, well, black on black violence, you're basically saying that black people aren't American. Because if violence happens in America, then that is American violence. So black on black violence would actually be American on American violence. And that's actually been going on for a long time, a lot longer than black people.
Mm-hmm. Well, when the term coon is applied like that, then it makes sense. But often, and I was telling everybody earlier, Brother Cerulean, that we throw that name at anybody who disagrees with us. That's when I think we're using the term wrong, because if someone just disagrees with us, they're a coon, they're a Sambo, they're an Uncle Tom, they're a whatever. What was that other thing I said earlier? What the hell did I say? Some kind of freaking cricket? Because I ran down a list, there was like a list of let me see. I'm gonna see if I can go back to it. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, here we go. A coon, an offensive word for a black person, similar to other words such as nigger, spear chucker, porch monkey, bubble lip, blue gum, tar baby, moon cricket. I mean, we have a tendency to throw these terms around, man, at anybody who disagrees with us.
Well, that's an interesting thing, because I'm less concerned about a person actually disagreeing with me. I'm more concerned with why they disagree with me.
Exactly.
Because there is nobody to date that has been able to dismantle my argument on the manufacturer of social illness, in which I look at the governing body as a manufacturer. And then I look at the people. For instance, there's an argument that we call, quote unquote, coons like to use to shame and browbeat black women with the whole 72% out of wedlock birth rate, right? That's not a condition that is specific to black people. And in fact, that's something that affects the world. And that's basically just comes from living in a postmodern society. But you have the quote unquote coon who will say, oh, that's the reason why we're failing. But it is not the reason why we're failing. The reason why we're failing is actually because of policy. policy that we've been politically lazy to fight, because every time that there is something that we actually need to be fighting for, what comes and happens is you have white mainstream media exacerbating a specific social condition to completely deflect and throw us off of what we're trying to fight for. Like, for instance, with the string of extrajudicial black killings by police officers, yes? And all we are asking for is for police institutions and agencies to be held responsible and accountable, and that murder is basically murder, whether you have a badge or not, right? What happens is you have a pushback by white mainstream media who will say, well, what about black on black crime,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, we see a string of black men being ran through the judicial system, through the family courts, being prosecuted very harshly for things like child support, in which they take away their license, which of course is related to their livelihood,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if that's related to their livelihood, they're no longer able to provide for the child that they've created, and as a result, they end up getting pushed through the judicial system once again, even if they were never felons or having any priors. You have a child out of wedlock, the state holds you responsible for that child, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if the state is constantly putting a stumbling block in your way, like for instance, you miss a child support payment, they take away your license, they restrict you from being able to get a passport, right? And those things are related to your livelihood because you need your license to drive, which gets you back and forth from work.
Yep.
And that's the problem. And they throw that, uh, oh well, 70% out of wedlock birth shouldn't have so many quote unquote bastard babies. You see, that's the things that a coon would say, in my opinion, because white people don't need you to speak for them.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. They have enough spokesmen already. They don't need us as their spokesman. They don't need that. I think now when you talk about when I think of a coon, one of the biggest coons that comes to my mind is
Who, Larry Elder, Jesse Lee Peterson?
oh yeah, well,
Go down the
no,
line.
actually I know another one. God, I can't even think of his name, and I talk about this guy all the time. He's a pastor. He's on
Oh,
Trump's I guess pastoral board. I watched this guy sit. I watched this guy sit in front of Donald Trump and tell Donald Trump that he had talked to all the biggest gang leaders in Chicago. Now, mind you, this guy's from Ohio, all right? But he's talked to all the biggest gang leaders in Chicago and, told Donald Trump that, they respect his administration. They didn't respect the last administration. He went on and on with this whole soliloquy about how he had rapped with all the gang leaders and how he had told them that, we're going to come in there with programs, but you got to get the body count down and all this kind of nonsense. So, people went to fact check this shit and come to find out nobody in Chicago even knew who this guy even was, let alone him coming in.
Okay. I understand. You're talking about Pastor Daryl Scott.
Yep, Pastor Daryl.
Daryl Scott. Pastor Daryl Scott.
Now,
Yeah.
when I think coon, you talking ultra supreme cooning right there, boy, because not only are you lying on black folks, you're lying on black folks to impress white folks. That's like
and not only
coon.
and not only that, but that type of cooning is very dangerous because that affects black life. And you're saying
Yes.
that, oh, I talked to these black gang members, and you've actually talked to no one. You've actually just given the state a free for all pass to go into the inner cities of Chicago and just extrajudicially kill anyone that they see that fits their shallow description of what a gang member is.
Mm-hmm. We done been joined by Brother Valdez. What's good, Brother Valdez?
Oh, greetings, esteemed Valdez.
What's going on, fellas? What's good?
What's good, man? Just talking about some coon this and coon that, and you know, coon me, coon you, coon everybody. You know, everybody's a coon.
Yeah, that's an ongoing problem, man.
Yeah, man. Too much damn cooning. You know,
Too much cooning and not enough loyalty and genuineness. Like if you're gonna be a coon, at least admit it. At least say, you know what, this is what I'm about.
Yeah,
fuck it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I don't really like coon. I like bubble lip, blue gum, moon cricket. I rather you call me a moon cricket, goddamn it.
Oh yes, oh yeah, shoe shine boy. You know,
bubble lip, goddamn it. I don't mind. I don't even care if you call me tar baby. Call me tar baby. I don't have a problem with that. I can live with that description of tar baby and moon cricket.
Damn.
I don't even mind. Call me moon cricket. Yeah, fine. I might put that on the old TPOT logo, moon cricket, whatever the hell that looks like. I guess that would be what, a cricket in a spacesuit.
Jiminy Cricket in a astronaut suit.
I was telling everybody earlier, Brother Valdez and Brother Cerulean, that the word coon, they took part of it because there's many connotations of it, but they said that one use of it was, they said that it came from the word barracoon, and barracoons were cages that Black Africans were kept in lieu of being sent to America. And they also said that inside those barracoons, that some of the Africans, they were actually happy. They were happy to go to America. So they called them people coons as well, because even though they were caged up in these quote unquote barracoons, being, waiting to be shipped off to be slaves, they were actually happy and elated about the whole experience. So I guess that's where we kind of get the connotation of coon.
Well, yeah, when I've actually developed an alternative language as opposed to coon. I'm not really a fan of coon. I prefer either a mockingbird or a flying monkey. Flying monkey is more psychologically related, because a flying monkey in psychology is a person who sees a person being victimized by someone and side with the victimizer, and joins in attacking the victim. For instance, victim blaming, right? A flying monkey would be someone like, say, for instance, a woman gets raped. Doesn't matter what she's wearing or any of that. But a woman gets raped. A flying monkey typically would say, well, what did she do to get raped? What was she wearing to get raped? A flying monkey would see a person getting beat up, say, for instance, by a police officer, or just by someone like a George Zimmerman, who's not a police officer, just beating up a kid. And a flying monkey would say, well, what did he do to deserve it?
Got it.
See, whereas a mockingbird, these are people that parakeet the talking points of white supremacists. Mockingbird, without any in-depth research or analysis, with no consideration for critical thought, will parakeet a narrative without having researched it, which makes it easier for someone like me to debunk.
Don't forget also the magical Negro.
Magical Negro. I was talking about flying monkeys earlier before you came on, Brother Cerulean. I said, how would y'all like it if I took Brother Cerulean's term, flying monkey, and just use it, but use it all out of the context, you know, that he uses.
Well, the context is relatively the same, because what do you have in America? I refer to America as a narcissist generating manufacturing plant. And if you don't come out as a narcissist, then you are a defective product, because America is a narcissist. What America does is basically deny its historical shame to systematic oppression, white supremacy, racism, and so forth. And they try to cover it up with all of these blanket narratives to deflect from what they have done and what they continue to do, like redline communities in which black people are a majority population, like Chicago, for instance, or even like Indianapolis or Houston, Texas, or name any one of them, Atlanta, Georgia, and they'll redline that community just to drive the property values down. And what in turn happens is when they drive those property values down, the people that are living there are still paying higher property tax. And then soon enough later, you have companies in which the community sustains itself upon by working at, leaving those communities because their property values down. And then before you know it, you have another Detroit.
Well, let me ask you this, being that, you know, we're talking about, you know, coons and porch monkeys and moon crickets. Do you believe that there are black people within those societies, you know, those cities like Detroit and Chicago? Do you believe that there are black people within that society who are actually partaking in the destruction of that society, whether it be on a political level, social level? You know, do you believe that there's, you know, black people who are helping that? You know, they are part of, you know, wanting to get the property values down so corporate can come in and buy land for pennies on the dollar, you know, so on and so forth. Do you think there's black people that are in the mix of that?
Absolutely, on a lower level, as far as being a proxy for white money, right? I have a land developer that wants to get a big contract to redevelop a community under the auspices of what they call urban renewal, which is really just a new name for gentrification. I'll send somebody black in there to sell them the idea. You know, if I'm a white corporation, white money, and say, oh, this is a good idea, sell your home. You know, and actually, this actually happened in LA, you know, about 30, 40 years ago, which is how the Asians in LA have amassed so much economic upward mobility due to those lower property values, because it allows other groups to capitalize off of those low property values, then come in, build it back up, and then now make it too expensive for the natives who were incubated there to live.
Wow. Come in there and give them these are good white folk speech.
Yeah.
In
fact, even going all the way back to the 30s and 40s, Margaret Sanger herself said the one person we can get to sell the idea of eugenics and abortion and sterilization to black people was the black pastor.
Yep.
And that's why you see the black church, you know, as I mentioned before, the black church stands as nothing more than a relic of a bygone era in which blacks were completely subjugated and pacified under their oppression.
I think that sometimes, man, we might be a coon or a moon cricket or a porch monkey or something without even knowing it. Do you think that's possible?
Oh, yes, that is absolutely possible, in which people will display certain behaviors of dysfunction in reaction to the deprived state of society, in which they actually they think they're rebelling, but they're actually furthering the cause of destruction of the Black community. Take for instance, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a prime example of that. Further pushing something that only affects a minority within Black society. For instance, homosexuality, LGBT, which Black LGBT is a minority in the Black community, but using a movement that is well funded like Black Lives Matter to give it more representation, and actually causing the further destruction of Black children that are coming up behind them. And not only that, but they're fighting for political seats that will go to undoubtedly disadvantage youth in the future, Black youth in the future.
So, what do you think is the best counter to? What do you think is the best counter to Black folks who are basically out to see the destruction of other Black folks? What do y'all think the best counter to that is? What's the countermeasures?
Well, the strongest countermeasure that Black people have, because Black people right now in the condition we are in are basically a blank slate. And so the best countermeasure that you have actually against any strategy that is going to be used to disadvantage you, maldistribute resources that you currently have is organization. So if you're organized, when your enemy is organized, you also must be organized. The organized will always be able to defeat an unorganized group. Mm-hmm. If you are unorganized, you will not be able to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And I mean organization, institution building, 5 stages. First, you have your big idea, which is your main objective. Take for instance, say you want to have a wider Black business sector. Yes, you find people that also want to have a widened big Black business sector. You go out and seek these people out. That's step 2. You find the people that share your main objective. Step 3, you find a central location in which you can brainstorm ideas that meet your main objective. Step 4, you begin pooling your resources. That includes money, whether it's money, housing, food, or what have you. Say, for instance, you want a widen Black business sector and you have a business partner that wants to consolidate. You have some space in your house, or even have an alternative property that they can use in order to do that. That will make it easier for them to consolidate their property and begin pooling their resources with you. That is group economics at play. And then step 5 is to create the programs in which you bring in more people, because organization building is a steady stream of constant campaigning, in which you're constantly campaigning for support and money from your constituency, from your community. Mm-hmm. And then what you do with that money then is to enact your main objective. So say, for instance, you have, like here in the Twin Cities, we have about 260,000 Black folks, and about 40,000 of them are under the age of 18, which leaves about $220 a day from each of them. And you have as many black businesses that you need to employ all 260 of them, including the ones that are coming up, the 40,000 that are under the age of 18 that aren't even eligible for work yet.
But wait a minute, Cerulean, campaigning for money, that sounds like begging.
That's actually incorrect. It's only begging when you're not offering an alternative or a product or a service in return. The service that you're providing through organization is actually building community. And so therefore it is a service that you are providing. It's only begging when you're not giving anything in return. You're asking for something without the expectation of returning something. whether it be a product, whether it be media, because media is a service, entertainment is a service, lectures are a service, political education are a service. I just happen to do them for free because I love to volunteer. I love to work with the community.
So take that, you spear chucking, bubble lip, blue gum, tar baby, moon cricket, coons.
Well, yeah, even with Obsidian and I had our disagreements. Yes, I actually wrote him a formal apology letter. Because that is one thing where we agree at, and where we agree at, we can build. We can't build where we disagree. We can only build where we agree. The problem is that we do not have a monolithic thought pattern, and that is problematic because we will not be able to defend ourselves if we are not a monolithic people. All other groups are monolithic. Every time I hear Negroes, especially those of the variety that like to parakeet Thomas Sowell or Thomas Shelby or Jason Riley or what have you, what I hear them do is I hear them do this shallow comparison between blacks and other groups. They do a shallow comparison between what the blacks do versus what the Jews do. They do a shallow comparison of what the blacks do versus what the Irish, Chinese, whites, or Koreans or what have you do. The one thing that they also do is that they also are monolithic people in everything that they do. And black people are not monolithic, and that is problematic, which is the reason why we do not have the infrastructure necessary that is required for a stable, healthy, and productive black community.
Yeah, I mean, we have to be kind of monolithic on some things. I mean, we have to. Probably should be monolithic on most things.
Well, if you look at white people for the most part are monolithic about nearly everything. There was a lady that you actually interviewed, very popular sociologist.
Jane Elliott.
Jane Elliott. She actually proved that white people are monolithic about a number of things.
True.
Where she was in the auditorium and she asked white people that were in the auditorium who here would like to be treated like black people, and nobody stood up. And then she said, "I don't think you hear me. Who here would like to be treated the way we treat our black citizens?" And everybody still sat down, which lets you know that they're monolithic.
They understand completely. They understand completely. That was an epic. That was an epic moment. If you ask me, that was an epic moment. Yeah, it was. That was an epic moment. Because not one Caucasian person stood their white asses up. And I want y'all to hit this here button down here. See this button? See right down there, right under where you see people are watching, right down there. I need y'all to hit that button down there.
Another thing about these other groups that you never hear the flying monkeys and mockingbirds mention is that they're also monolithic about what they consider their lower dregs of society. They don't throw them under the bus. They actually use them as a power base. And Valdez and I actually talked about this the other day, where you have an inherent group of black men who advocate for a black patriarchy to interface with white society.
Yeah.
But then they'll go on to this tangent and criticize black women for having children out of wedlock. They'll do the whole 72%. See, those are all talking points that were, created by the likes of William Buckley, back in the 70s. And the problem is that that's not what a patriarch actually is. And if you notice, white patriarchs, they don't throw even their worst under the bus. That's why you see on TV, you have a white mass shooter and they still call him mentally disturbed.
Yep. Or worse, you can literally see a video of a white guy doing something and the police roll up and they still treat him with a certain degree of respect. He could be standing there with a gun and they'd be like, come on, just put the gun down. We don't want to have to hurt you.
Buddy,
See what I'm saying?
buddy.
They'll still carry it with a certain degree of respect. But you know, if a lot of these Negroes out here who constantly, you know, talk about Ray Ray and Pookie, you know, the type of dudes, a lot of these guys, if they had the power, they would literally pull a Hitler. They would put all of the Negroes in the hood in a damn concentration camp and probably pull the lever on a damn gas chamber if they could do it.
Yep. I believe
And
that.
see, and it's even more problematic than that, because another thing that you will not see a patriarch from any other group, whether it's white, Asian, or Hispanic, or what have you, you'll never see them throw their children under the bus.
Mm-mm.
Whereas, say for instance, with LeVar Ball's son in China, petty theft, and you had all these Negroes coming out criticizing him. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you'd never see, Chinese kids, they get caught for theft in their own countries all the time. You don't see it widely publicized.
Mm-hmm.
And because you don't see it widely publicized, people assume that these are upstanding and moral people.
Yeah. Just like they make the assumption that the only Negroes that need to be on child support because they stepped out on their children or their family is black folks. Like, no, that's the only niggas that get hauled into court.
And it goes even further than that.
Road behind bars too.
You ever find it interesting that you'll never hear a white patriarch refer to any white child as a bastard, no matter how deviant or evil or disreputable the act he's committed?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, where a black kid steps on a banana peel while jaywalking and slips. Oh, he shouldn't have been jaywalking.
Mm-hmm.
See, no patriarch actually does that. In fact, patriarchs of other communities, and this has been in the history of the world, has always looked at all of the children as his own children.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what mother that they came from. All of the children belong to the patriarch. So you want a patriarchy, black patriarchy in the black community, step up or shut up.
Well, half of these guys can't be patriarchs anyway, because they view, when we had that discussion the other day, and I said something, and I don't care what nobody say. To this day, I still stand by this statement. If you have a problem, and Obsidian brought this up, he said one of the biggest problems in the black community is the fatherlessness in these households. I said, well, shit, if you got a large percentage of fatherless households, and you got 41% of black men, 42% of black men who are single and don't have children, there's your solution right there. But guess what? The only way you would have that mindset to do that is if you had a patriarch mind state.
That's because a patriarchal mind state actually dictates that you take initiative. You don't wait to be told to do something. And you definitely don't complain about what that thing is that you must do. Even if it's upholding the community, even if it's mentoring or taking the youth under your wing, you don't complain about those things as a patriarch. But see, only someone who is disingenuous, they want the benefits of a patriarchy without putting in the work of a patriarch.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about this acronym I have written down here on the old Dark Exodus live stream. C.O.O.N.S. Should we be calling out other Negroes' stupidity? Because I use C.O.O.N.S as an acronym for calling out other Negroes' stupidity. Should we be doing that?
No. When in Rome, you must do what the Romans do.
Mm.
You must pretend, because that's what the Romans do. They pretend that there is no people in their community that is of low moral character.
Wow. So if we don't speak on the things within our society that are damaging us, because we have some things going on in our society that are actually damaging us as a society. We shouldn't speak on any of that.
No, we should only whenever it comes down. We're behind enemy lines. This is even. We're not only are we behind enemy lines, but behind enemy lines is basically our home. It's basically our stronghold too. We've built our community where our flag has been planted here. Not only has it been planted, but we've built everything within it. And therefore, just like any other group, we must fight for it. And what the problem is with Coons, they don't want to fight for it. They want it to be handed to them by white society. They want white society to give them the okay. They want white society to validate them so that they can live comfortably within the bosom of white society, who's actually created and crafted the social illnesses that they're affected by.
Wow. Say that again. Say that again, brother Cerulean. Say that one more time.
I said the Coon wants to live comfortably within the bosom of white society, right? While it is white society which indeed created the social illnesses that they are affected by.
Wow. Well, what if the people who are damaging Black society, should we continue to let them be a part of it? Should we do that? If they are causing immense harm to the development of Black society, the improvement of Black society, the growth of Black society, should we allow them to remain within Black society?
No, in fact, I'm an advocate for isolation. Isolation. Those who actually speak against Black society should be exposed. Those are the only people that we should be speaking against. Those who criticize Black society more than they actually contribute to its upliftment. And their words should be good. Their words should not be good anywhere. Their name should be out there because these people are gatekeepers for white society who believe they need to speak on behalf of white society. And, as I mentioned before, white society doesn't need you to speak on their behalf. They have a massive mainstream propaganda generating machine called the media. They control the apparatus by which you are even able to be on the air. You wanna put a Black news station up, that has to go through white society. You want to put Black entertainment, Black imagery that portrays us in a positive light, that also has to go through white society. And see what happens is with the Coon wants to compromise principles, position, in order to accommodate white society instead of fighting for or fighting against white society, so that white society can make concessions and compromise for our benefit.
Wow. Well, a lot of times when you have these people, who we all consider coons or Sambo or whatever, a lot of times I believe they're doing it because they believe. I don't know if they're necessarily doing it because they're doing it to be validated by white people. I think these people, they actually think that they're better than other Black people. That's what I think. A lot of them, they think that they are on this upper echelon.
Oh, that's very
Black
true.
People. No,
that's very true. Anytime a white person validates a Black person, someone like Lee Daniels, who gets many accolades from white people, that person thinks that he's better than everyone else, all the rest of us down here in the general population. And it's the same thing with anyone else who validates white people. For instance, had the situation with Tommy Sotomayor. A lot of white people follow him, and they actually feed into his confirmation bias by agreeing with him. And he can then, in turn, continues to do what he do, continue to throw black people under the bus, have video conferences with white supremacists, known white supremacists, right? Because the white person has validated him. And so in turn, he reciprocates back to the community by saying, well, I'm better than you guys. Because look at all this stuff that white people have given me. White people have been nicer to me than most Negroes.
These are good white folk.
These are good white folk. Look at this nice house I'm living in. White folks support me more than black folk. Do you want to know why white folks support you more than black folk? Because white folk created the condition that black folks suffer from. That makes it seem like the white man's ice is colder. That's why they support you that way.
But are we validating these people? I mean, when we call them coons, we're validating them somewhat, because I mean, if they're a coon, they know it, right? They're coon and then they know it. So by calling them a coon, aren't we giving them a level of, it's almost like giving them a title, like, yes, you're the white man's monkey. And they're like, yep, that's what I'm trying to do, trying to be the white man's monkey. So aren't we kind of validating them when we say, oh man, he's a coon?
Nah,
right?
They don't think they are.
No,
they don't. Most of them don't believe that they are. Most of them think that what they're doing is some righteous shit. That's how fucked up they are mentally.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that what it is?
Well, they think that they're better because white society gave the general population peanuts while they're sitting there eating butter, biscuits, and jelly. Right? Look, I got butter, biscuits, and jelly. You only got peanuts.
You got peanuts. Brother Cerulean. No one explains things like Brother Cerulean.
See, the thing is, you got to realize and they actually showed this on Homeland, on the show Homeland, where the one soldier was taken hostage, taken as a prisoner of war, and the Arab leader that took him, he started doing shit to him that fucked him up psychologically. And it got him to the point where he went into this level of Stockholm syndrome, where by the time he left and went back to America, he had completely switched his allegiance. He was a jihadist. And niggas was looking at him like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, you saw that, right?
Oh yeah, I like to attribute it to you ever seen Game of Thrones? There's a character in there known as Reek.
Yeah.
That's all that needs to be said. That's what they are. That's what a coon is Reek.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I was a Game of Thrones guy. I know exactly who he is.
Have been mentally castrated, right?
Yep.
It's so interesting because if you remember when Theon Greyjoy's sister came to rescue him, he was so scared to go because he thought it was another trick by Ramsay Bolton.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
And we with this mindset, we're kind of like Theon Greyjoy's sister coming to rescue them, alert them, say, man, hey, look, you got to come up out of this shit. It's a trap. They're like, oh, Reek belong here,
These are good white folk.
Good white folk, yeah.
But the crazy thing is, man, is that see, this is what they don't understand. I mean, they want to be, I guess, they want the white man's trinkets and whatever the white man gives them. But if it all came down to it, man, I mean, when the divide comes, I hope they don't think that, because you have kissed the white man's ass and told the white man's story and put your foot on the backs of black folks, for white people, that somehow is going to ingratiate you to white people, because you're probably going to be one of the first to get their heads chopped off, actually, because you're right inside the enemy's camp already.
Well, look at what's happening with Sheriff David Clark.
Oh yeah,
right.
He went down in flames, man. He went down in flames.
Look what happened with Sheriff David Clark. See, he thought that he was going to have a pass and he was going to have a nice, comfy seat within the bosom of white society. And then now he's surrounded by scandal with, being caught with his side chick. Mm-hmm. And who's throwing him under the bus more? Is it black folk? Nah, these are white folks throwing him under the bus. And that was their poster child for Coonism.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like, if you guys just be more like Sheriff David Clark, he's really nobody to look up to.
Mm-hmm. See, white people call people like Sheriff Clark good black folk. See, that's good black folk right there. good black folk.
They see him in passing, two white guys walking down the street. They see Sheriff David Clark. They're nice and cordial. They're not calling him nigger or any of that. And then as they pass him, they say to one another like he's one of the good ones.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's selling out his own people for us. He's one of the great ones.
Yep. But what they don't understand is that they will never say he's one of us. See, that's what they really want. They want white people to say he's one of us. That's what I think some of them aspire to that, to say he is one of us. But it's never coming.
It's worse than that, Brother Xavier. Some of them think they are one of them
already.
Yeah.
Already, yeah.
Because they've given the honorary. I say they've been given the white visa, right?
Exactly. Where do you think? Where do you think that tone of condescension comes from in Tommy Sotomayor's voice?
Mm.
He did a live stream with David Duke. He feel like I'm in there.
Yeah.
Even still, I've actually developed an entire series of abstract just around this. For instance, people have that question like, why do the so-called black conservatives parrot white supremacist talking points? And really, they think that they're being, they think that they're one of them. They think that they're being standing on higher moral ground, when really really under the skin, they suffer from this manic self-inflicted shame, which come as a result of being repeatedly browbeat by the dominant society with self-cannibalizing and falsely contrived arguments such as, black on black crime. And they feel ashamed about black on black crime because a white person said it, right? These are weaponized propagandist deflections white supremacists like to use when obvious racial disparities and injustice are exposed by people who are the victims of these injustices. You see, that's a flying monkey by definition. A person who continues to victimize the victim, right, through proxy.
Oh, it's like and I know you just recently saw Peaky Blinders. It's like the speech that Thomas Shelby gave him. Even though they're white, he was talking about niggas and white folks. He said they got mad because his aunt got mad because he was passing out the money. And he said, what? This is all I can give you for your loyalty, your hearts, your souls. He said, I've been around those bastards. He said, it doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter how much money we make. They will never admit us to their palaces. They will never give us those titles. We will always be what we are, no matter how much money we make.
Yeah, because in Western society, all non-whites have a ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
I'll repeat that. In Western society, all non-whites have a ceiling. You see? And the thing is, again, going back to white people don't need you speaking on their behalf. You know, they have a mainstream media arm just for that, to speak on their behalf. You know, for instance, we go back to the manufacturing process. Whether or not I know that I am talking to a complete idiot, is I have to send them through a series of questions that are going to lead to this abstract about manufacturing. You know, like for instance, if you bought a car or a product, and there was like some kind of mechanical or structural, maybe even an operational or health risk or other hazardous defect with that product, who is responsible for correcting that defect? The store you bought it from or the manufacturer? You see, it's the manufacturer who's responsible. You see, and that's when the manufacturer does what's called a manufacturer's recall, in which they compensate the consumer for its defective products, or sends the consumer a new non-defective product as a replacement, and that is called restitution. But the issue with Western society and America specifically is that they can't send you any new Negroes, because the factory that is pushing out these defective Negroes is still in operation, stronger than ever. And therefore, if a Negro has a problem with other Negroes, you know, it would stand to reason, you know, that the problem is actually with them and not with the Negroes they criticize. Say, why would, like for instance, if you bought this product, why would you browbeat or beat up this product instead of forcing the manufacturer to pay restitution for that defective product that they gave you? It's like having a manufacturer's recall, and instead of taking the issue up with the manufacturer, you just keep bashing the product and abusing the product because of your personal dissatisfaction.
Well, you know that. Well, that you know that's how American society works. If you have, like, say for instance, if you have a child that's being raised a certain way, and then the child ends up becoming a criminal, nobody ever thinks to say, "Well, who raised this child?" No one gives a shit about who raised the child. They
Yeah,
want
well, and that even goes to strengthen the manufacturing argument, right? Because we are all products of America. We are all manufactured in the United States of America. And since the manufacturer can't send you a replacement Negro, it's up to you to demand compensation and restitution from that manufacturer. And see, they like to pawn this off on black women. Oh, single black mothers, they destroyed all of this. There's single black mothers, they keep sleeping with Pookie Ray Ray, and you know, they got all the excuses, right? But then when you ask who manufactured the single black mother, you see, the apparatus that made the single black mother is the person you need to be fighting, but you're speaking on their behalf, which makes you the flying monkey or the coon or the mockingbird.
Or the moon cricket.
Or the moon cricket. You see? Because policy that was passed by the American government is what created the single black mother. So she was manufactured just like Pookie and Ray Ray was manufactured, just like those flying monkey Negroes, that parakeet white supremacist talking points were manufactured in the upper education of America.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask you that, brother Cerulean. Like who manufactures the Coons and the Sambo? Does the power structure manufacture that, or do we manufacture them?
No, the power structure definitely manufactures them. So because human psychology works on a system of reward and punishment, and if you're rewarded for something, it actually exacerbates your need to repeat that behavior. So what you had was entire history coming out of slavery, right? Even going into Reconstruction and Jim Crow, meritorious manumissions. You were rewarded for turncoating on other slaves. You're rewarded for turncoating, giving up other black folk. And today, that's still in play. That's what Coonism is. You're being rewarded for speaking against those people who the system oppresses.
So, do you believe that? Do you believe that we can actually drive somebody to be, a Sambo or Coon or Moon Creek? Can we drive them to that because we've treated them so bad, or we called them names or mistreated them or made it so they felt like we're more comfortable with others? Do you think that that's possible? You think that we could drive a person to
No,
become,
no, you
wanting
can't.
to be with white folks?
Nope, there's no possible way that you can drive a person to do something that they're being rewarded for. And one, we can't drive them to do it because we don't control the punishment apparatus, right? You see, this punishment and reward thing, this is really kind of like child psychology. I reward, say for instance, a child goes into a cookie jar, and instead of punishing them, I give them another cookie. Not only are they going to think that, taking a cookie without permission is all right, but they know they'll be rewarded for it.
Mm.
So you can't drive a person to doing something they don't want to do unless you control that which they consume. And that which they consume is those rewards of white society.
Yeah. Well, this is good stuff, man. Y'all probably should be writing some of this stuff down because I got brother Cerulean Gray in the house, my boy brother Valdez up in here, and tonight we are talking about coons here on Dark Exodus live and direct. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, and y'all see my mods are being so astute in putting the old PayPal link and the Streamlabs link in the chat. And you might want to hit this damn like button down here if you don't mind as well. If you don't want to put a few pennies in the bucket, at least put a few damn likes in the bucket, for Christ's sakes. Yeah, so when I was coming up, right, going to high school, and the high school that I went to, there was a lot of white people, and it was like, I don't know, it's probably about 60% white. It was mostly white folks, and there were brothers in there who hung with only white people. That's all you ever saw them with.
Mm-hmm.
And you would see them and you would be like, you would ask yourself why. Like, why is this guy, he's black, but he's only with white people. He's only with white people. And then when it came time to say, because we had a lot of it was a lot of racial animus in our high school. There was a lot of black and white fights. There was Hispanic and black fights, Hispanic and white fights, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, these brothers who used to hang with all these white boys, when it came to the black and white fights, they always found themselves back on the black side. Now, we as black people, that's where I think we kind of screw up, because see, we can have people in our society that leave away from our society, reject our society, but we always take those people back. We take them back, even though they've, disrespected us, even though they said they don't want nothing to do with us. But for some reason, we will take those people back. For instance, if say a damn media hit the earth, god damn it, and everybody's savages, and people are going to break off into racial groups, we can see somebody who we know as a coon or a sambo or moon cricket or whatever you want to call them, and more than likely we would take him back within our group to keep him from being consumed by the white folks who he left us for before the damn media hit. So yeah. So why would we do that? Why would we be willing to take the coons and the sambos back?
Well, that's that's evidence of just how high the moral ground that we stand upon. That is an example and evidence of just how high the moral ground black folks stand upon, that we forgive almost anything,
Mm. Even cooning.
even
We,
Coonan.
yeah, we forgive you, even though you
To,
cooned on us.
to, to our own detriment as well, you know. And it's so interesting because another one of the issues that you hear, say for instance, the flying monkeys and the mockingbirds use, is the victimhood narrative. You know, it's interesting, right? Um, because you have to examine what actually is a victim, right? And even by we'll say Webster's dictionary, because I know a lot of them won't believe it unless it comes from a white person. So we'll use Webster's dictionary, which Webster's dictionary says a group or a person who is harmed, injured, or killed as a result of a crime, accident, or other events or actions, whether voluntary or involuntary. Two, a person who is forced, tricked, or duped into any situation, event, or status unbeknownst to said person. Well, that's Webster's dictionary. Now, in this country, black people are victims because if you do not have sovereignty, your own military, your own economy that generates economy or money that generates economy, you didn't get to choose the very fact that you're black. Somebody chose it for you. Anytime that someone dictates a status to you, that's a sign that you're a victim. Now, what I mean by this is, do I mean that that you can't stop being a victim? No, I mean that it actually takes a great deal of organization before you can stop being a victim, and that's just the reality. And people that want to deny the reality, they are again they're affected by this manic self-inflicted shame, in which they don't want to be victims, but they don't know how not to be because the very fact that they're parakeeting white supremacist talking points is evidence also of victimhood, where you take a person who's been beat up, right, beat up by a bully, right, and the next thing you know, that person that's been beat up by a bully starts exhibiting the same behaviors as the bully.
Mm.
Why? Because they were a victim.
Somebody, Felix the Observer, he says he wants to know what Brother Cerulean thinks about Jason Black's latest indictment of President Obama, if you've heard it.
Oh, I can already guess what Jason Black's latest indictment of Obama is. Obama's not a very popular person, even posthumously as a president. Um, Now, here's the thing. My thing about Obama. Did Obama do anything specifically for Negroes? No. Did he do something that affected America that actually kept Negroes afloat? Yes. He actually extended a lot of the social programs that would have starved out black children otherwise. But my answer to the Obama criticism is how much money did he contribute to Obama's campaign? And I would ask anyone that who criticized Obama. Say, well, black folks, see, I know black folk, and I know what black folk did for the years of 2004, 2005, 2006, all the way up until 2007. I know what they were doing during those times. What they were doing, they were spending all of their money on Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, Black Friday, Valentine's Day. They were taking vacations all across the United States and the world. And they were ignoring, that's that political laziness, they were ignoring Obama's campaign, didn't put a dime towards it. And then what happens is black folks came to President Obama with their hand out when they actually had a golden opportunity to uh, collectivize their resources, put it towards the campaign, and whenever you actually whenever you actually support someone, whether that is a personality or a president, they are now beholden to you. They now answer to you because you have put money, not only money, but you have put sweat equity that earned that money towards that man's campaign. And now, if you have an agenda, you come to him and say, we want this, and you don't get that, now he can be held responsible and is accountable for his lack of action towards the proposal that you put on the table because you put money towards his campaign. But then you ask black folks, did you put money towards his campaign? No, you didn't. That's the reason why a lot of white folks are actually criticizing Obama, but a lot of black folks don't know that because there was actually more black folks that wanted Obama than black folks.
Mm. I mean, we have to. I know we as black people, man. I mean, it's good that you said that, brother Cerulean, because there's a brother on my block, an older fella. He's like 75, right? And he told me, he said the first time he ever voted was when Barack Obama ran. Now that was like 10 years ago, right? 2008. That means that that man was 65 then. So you wait all the way until you're 65 to even start voting? I mean, when he told me that, I was like, really? He said, yep. He said, that's the first time I ever voted for anyone, for anything, was when Barack Obama ran. And you know what? When he said that, man, I was really disappointed, brother Cerulean, because you know I like the OG, but I was disappointed when he said that because
It is disheartening. It's heartbreaking because this is a man who's said he didn't vote until Obama and waited until he was 65. Then he's wasted quite a few years, and not only that, but quite a few policies that his participation in politics could have prevented as a 65-year-old man.
exactly, exactly. I was like, no. I said, I can't even believe you just said that. You know, he lost a few points when he he lost a few points, brother Cerulean, when he said that shit.
Yeah, matter of fact, he's the type of guy that the millennials talk about dropping the ball.
Yep. Yep.
Whenever the millennials talk about the boomers dropping the ball, those are the type of guys they're talking about.
And the sad thing is, brother Cerulean, you know he's not alone. It's not like he's the only person that did that, man. I mean, he's not the only person. There's probably multitudes of black people who can tell the same damn story. And then they want to talk shit about politics, man, and they're not even
Yeah,
involved with it at all. I mean,
have,
absolutely at all.
have no clue, have no clue. You know, there in the history of America for black folks, because you hear once again the quote unquote coon or the mockingbird or the flying monkey will try to go back to a time in which black families were intact, in which blacks had some level of economic upward mobility, in which black folks were actually collectivizing their resources to create economic and business alternatives for themselves. And the time I'm talking about is, you know, right on the tail end of Jim Crow, you know, and we're talking about the, you know, going in from the early 1900s to around mid 1940 after World War II, which black families were intact. Black families did collectivize their resources. Black families did work together. And the problem with that is that there were three things that had always held the black family in place. One was, of course, our academic excellence. Second being our political awareness and participation, and the third being military service. Now, what happened just after, you know, the end of Jim Crow, and in fact, Jim Crow, a lot of people think ended with the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which wasn't actually enforced until 1968. But you were going into Vietnam War during this time. And during that time, you have Richard Nixon. First thing that he does, coming in on the tail end of the Vietnam War in 1971, announce a war on drugs, which according to his DPC chair, John Ehrlichman, has said that the Nixon White House had two enemies: the anti-war and black folk.
Wow.
And that's verbatim. That's what he said.
A lot of times, man, we probably don't realize how dangerous some of these people, you know, the so-called Coon are. I mean, they can not only, like you spoke of earlier, can put black life at risk. They can actually influence policies, I would imagine. If you got enough of them voting their particular moon cricket interests, if you got enough of them and those moon cricket interests fall in line with the parties, you know, the white power structure, I mean, they can be quite dangerous if there's enough of them.
They are dangerous because most of them don't even know what the hell they're talking about. As a matter of fact, I'll answer Felix the Observer's question. He said, "What do I think about Eric Holder and Obama's silence while their fellow black males are being killed? Did he need campaign funding to stand for that? You needed collective organization. You needed actual collective participation. That needed to be a mass body moving against Obama. But the problem is setting the seed during the campaign to fund Obama's campaign. That's where you set the seed at. So that way, when black folks were getting killed in the street, you already had a politician in your pocket to say to make it stop and to hold those people accountable. But you didn't do that. You see, I don't think people understand that warfare requires a great deal of logistics and preparation before you actually go to war. And politics is just warfare by another name. Business, just warfare by another name. Economics, warfare by yet another name. And so laying the groundwork during the campaign process that got him elected, that is when you needed to be setting the seed, because that would have been a part of your agenda. Extrajudicial killings of black men had already been happening before Obama got elected. When was Sean Bell killed extrajudicially? In the early 2000s, before there was such thing as an Obama running for a president.
It's true. Very, very true.
And so extrajudicial killings was already a part of the American society. You wanted to make it stop, and you got a black guy running for office, it'd be who of you to start funding that politician and say, hey, we this is what we want to happen. We want to hold police responsible for extrajudicial killings. We we want money, we want federal money for our schools. We want to end rezoning of our communities that rob our communities of their tax base. So that way we don't have to bus our kids all the way across town to a white school because now your area has been rezoned to the white community. So they can charge you higher taxes to push you out. You see, that's where you set the groundwork. Those are real agendas. You say, I want a pipeline. I want a pipeline for union workers. Matter of fact, not only that, I want federal money to establish a black union so that our kids, whenever they come of age and they get their trades, they don't have to depend on a white union to give them a job.
Exactly.
and in turn creating a pipeline for union work for black boys, for black people in general.
See,
Yeah, go ahead.
See, the problem is most black folks, and I've said this numerous times, do not understand the way the United States of America is structured. The United States of America is structured like a corporation. The president is the CEO of the corporation. In fact, when you have a corporation, most of the time they'll refer to him as a CEO or a president. And corporations also have a vice president. And then they have shareholders, they have a board, different things like that. It's the same way America is structured. Just because Barack Obama became president does not mean that he has the ability to just do whatever the fuck he wanted to do.
Exactly. He doesn't have the power of a monarch per se.
No.
Because a monarch can, the moment something happens, people dislike it, and he's swayed by the people. A monarch could say right then and there, "This has to stop. We're going to hold all these people responsible." No, see, a president of a corporation is a great deal of deliberation. You have board meetings before you can deliberate on an issue.
Yep, and you have to, and you're held accountable by the shareholders, and this is why, when you had him running for office, this is why you had people lobbying. This is why you had people kicking in their money, because what they were trying to do is they were trying to get a seat at the table. Black people did not get a seat at the table. We thought that once he became president, he was going to be the president of black people. No, he's the president of the United States. If you want something changed, like Cerulean said, you would have to organize and make yourself into a actual group that has a seat at the table. Once you have a seat, it's just like when you see these old movies with the mafia and these mob bosses. Once a guy like Hoodlum, for instance, if you notice, Bumpy Johnson got a seat at the table. That meant everybody at that table, even if they didn't like it, had to start treating him seriously. But until he got that seat at the table, no one gave a shit. Like you're not gonna cause any type of change, sitting back saying, okay, well, we got a president now that's black, so that means that because he has the same skin tone as us, we're automatically going to get some sort of benefit. A lot of you Negroes are the same Negroes that would throw Pookie and Ray Ray under the bus, and you're not even realizing the same way you look down your nose at Pookie and Ray Ray. How do you not know the president ain't looking down his nose at you?
Oh, and absolutely, especially if you didn't put nothing on his books, so to speak, quote unquote. You ain't put nothing on his books, he's gonna look down on his nose at you. Like, well, what have you done to earn a seat at the table? What have you done to pay for a seat at the table?
Let's see. Hold on. He's Felix D. Zerber. He said that CEO analogy makes sense. Is it selfish for me to have expected him to buck against his shareholders and pay lip service to the blackmail experience? No, it's not selfish of you to think that, but there's a shitload. There's a whole lot more moving parts in politics than just him. Like you got to realize, this is something you got to realize about a president.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is that you're not wrong to be selfish, but you are undeserved to be selfish if you haven't paid the cost to be selfish.
But it's even worse than that, because he's not understanding that it's not that cut and dry. He's not understanding that Barack Obama has people he has to answer to. He has all of these different, like it's just like freaking Tony Soprano said on one of the episodes when his consigliere was actually questioning him, and he said, you got, one of your deadly sins is pride, and you didn't want to eat shit from so and so you did this and did that. And he said, with all due respect, what the fuck do you know about being number one? He said, every decision you make affects every facet of every other fucking thing. You got to realize a president, every single decision he makes, every single word that comes out of his mouth is going to affect something in some sort of way. So he has to weigh everything he's doing and everything he's saying very carefully, especially being the first black president. A lot of guys like I've said things about Barack Obama, but I'm under no illusion that he wasn't in a really, really fucking delicate position.
Exactly. Plus, like you said, I mean, he was the president of the United States of America. He wasn't the president of all black societies in America. He was president of the United States. He wasn't the president of black folks.
But here's one thing that a lot of mockingbirds tend to ignore is that Barack Obama inherited a shit sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
And here's another thing too. When you talk about him being president, because I know what most people would say, logic would say, well, what would happen if a Chinese person became president? They wouldn't allow this. Well, see, that would be different because this is what you got to realize. If he was the president of black Americans, he would be the president of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't have, like, if a Chinese president, if a Chinese man, if a native born Chinese or Asian man, he was born in the United States, but he's Asian, became president, he would definitely have more pull because guess what? China is a country that has a shitload of Chinese people, that has their own economy, that has their own military, that has their own everything.
Mm-hmm.
We live in this country. We don't have any of those things. Like we're the one group of people in this world, as far as I can tell, that don't have a military. We don't have our own currency. We don't have our own anything.
Yeah, we are actually inseparably tied to the economy. You see, we were once the generators of economy through labor. And then what happened was you're released out of free service. And you were told that not only do you get to inherit your ancestors' conditions, but you don't get to take any part in any of the wealth that they built.
See, the shit that most black folks really don't understand is that, truth be told, black people dropped the ball because of the simple fact that the moment that you got a black president, you were supposed to already be so organized that you could actually fund his campaign and hold his ass to the fire.
Yep.
But because we were not organized, because we were too busy running around, my president is black, my Lambo blue, because we was too busy celebrating the shit, we wasn't trying to capitalize on the shit. And somebody else came along and capitalized. Like, for instance, do you have any idea what would have probably happened if, let's say for argument's sake, that we had somebody run for president and actually win? Like, let's say for argument's sake that Jim Crow never happened. Let's say that after slavery, you still had little bullshit, but let's say Jim Crow really didn't happen. You have any idea what would have happened if we would have had somebody black become president during the like 60s when black people were really trying to organize, when you had like Black Panthers, when you had like all of these different groups that were fighting for certain rights? Like it would have been an entirely different paradigm.
I think a lot of people, they didn't really want to back him. They wanted him to back them, but they weren't willing to organize and back him. You know what I'm saying? They didn't really stand behind the president the way they should have. That's why they didn't organize. That's why they didn't really believe in him, but they wanted him to believe in the people. The people didn't want to believe in that man, but they wanted the man to believe in them, which makes no sense, actually.
The problem is, and I have to quote the great philosopher from White Men Can't Jump, Billy Ho.
Billy Ho.
Billy Ho stated clearly, and he made perfect sense when he said this. He said the black man wants to look good first and win second.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to start wanting to win first and look good second.
Yep.
You know,
Well, yeah, it's
did he go out? What happened?
I think we lost Brother Cerulean.
and the team has a tremendous lead on us, and we make a small touchdown. Not even a touchdown. We just we we're dancing in the end zone. And we haven't even won the game yet.
Uh-oh, see, hold on, look. You see, now here we go. Felix the Observer, he said, here's where I show my political ignorance. He said, Angry Man, how are South African people able to speak about taking back land from the Dutch? Don't they have people to answer to? They have a military.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do they have a military, but they are a monolithic people.
Exactly.
And they're very organized. They're organized under Malema. They're under Ramaphosa, Cyril Ramaphosa. They're organized under these people. And so when you're organized, you can do whatever you want, because when you're organized, might can make right, and you can make it make sense.
See, this is what you don't realize. It's not like we were in this country and we already were running this country, and then white people took over, and then we're just now getting a black president back. We've never ran this country. You're talking about South Africa, and they've had all sorts of turmoil throughout the years, but they have had a point where it was their damn country. Like we've never had this country. We've never had ownership of this country.
I don't think we've ever really had a black agenda in this country. Like during like say the 60s, the 50s and 60s, we had some, black agendist, I would say,
Man,
the Malcolm X's and the Martin Luther Kings, if you would think. But I mean, we had agendists, but we didn't really have a political agenda that was slated for black people. Because I don't even think the civil rights legislation was particularly for black people. I don't.
And let's break down the whole Coon thing, right? Because at the core of what cooning is, it just stems from being a coward.
B.G.S.
The master teacher.
He said our agenda has been survival. Exactly.
Yeah, and there's no greater motivator than survival. But see what has happened, especially since 1972, with the dropping of Title IX, these public policies that completely disadvantaged us, in order to assimilate us, have actually done more damage. And what has happened is the quote unquote coon, or what I call the flying monkey slash mockingbird, has done is basically given the system a pass. Well, when you're looking in the long scope, and I'm glad B.G.S. is here, because when you're really looking at this from the macro scale, white supremacy is already on its way out, and that's why you're seeing these more aggressive or these more ferocious microaggressions against black people. White supremacy is fighting for its life to hold on to what power that it once had, that it no longer has.
Exactly. And you know what? That's a prime. I'm glad you brought that up, because see, just like black people dropped the ball when it came to Barack Obama getting elected, we're still dropping the ball, because we have a prime opportunity now.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? To take advantage of what's going on. As as boxers say, you can't fight on your heels. And right now, white supremacy is on its heels. And we sitting here, a bunch of black folks is still on the same bullshit that we've been on forever.
Yeah, we're a blank slate, and it's like my friend Littlefinger in the Game of Thrones once said that chaos is a ladder.
Damn right.
and we are in a prime opportune time to get organized, start pooling our resources at a very rapid pace, and start accumulating the things that have been formerly deprived of us. And now they can't be deprived of us because if they want the assimilation process to really work, um, they'd actually have to start letting some doors open that they've been locked off for a long time. And we see that with the latest release of this Black Panther movie.
Yep.
They've never given any Negro director the budget or even the leeway or creative freedom to bring this type of thing to the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
But you have people that will still denigrate the movie itself. Even though it's a black producer, all black cast, yada yada yada. You know, and that represents a problem. Really, really, what a coon is. A coon is a coward. What we're talking about, yellow belly coward. When we're talking about a coon, that's really what we're talking about is a yellow belly coward.
Well, if, like your brother said, white supremacy is on its way out, don't you think it's time that we stop using it? Stop saying, "Oh, that's because of white supremacy. That's because of white supremacy." If it's on its way out, why is everybody still throwing it around? Like snowballs in the wintertime?
Because it still affects our immediate life.
Exactly. For the same reason a Jewish person will say never again.
Mm.
You can't forget. You can't forget, like, and see, here's the thing. A lot of people, they use the wordplay and they say, oh, well, white supremacy is a myth. And if you really broke it down literally, I understand that. And they say, oh, well, white people are not more supreme, not technically, but because of the conditions of what we live in, basically
they still control the apparatus that governs your life.
Exactly. They still are in control. So until that changes, we're still under the illusion of white supremacy. Like, it doesn't really see. Here's the thing: it doesn't really matter. It's just like with the Wizard of Oz. It doesn't matter that it was a dude behind a curtain if you still scared of the motherfucker. See what I'm saying?
Exactly. Matter of fact,
I agree.
That goes back to the point with the cowardice, right? Because when you really look at it, every Negro that currently exists right now inherited their situational circumstances. They didn't create them.
Yeah.
You see, and the governmental body, whom these very same Negroes are afraid of, that repeat this unintelligible nonsense, are giving open admission that they are scared to face the government. So they insist on attacking other blacks with this foolish gibberish.
Yeah.
Take, for instance, we will ask the question, right? Is black women on food stamps a problem? Right? And then you just say, well, how did black women get on food stamps? See, did black women want food stamps, or did the government create policy which impoverished the black community to such extent that the black woman had to take food stamps? See, are black people to blame for instance, are black men or even black women to blame for black men selling drugs? Or is the government's public policy that economically suffocated the black community and the CIA's drug war to blame? You see? Are black women to blame for the raising of gay sons and mama's boys? Or basically, did the government create the environment that mass incarcerated black men that robbed the community of strong male leadership and pushed the gay agenda on kids through anti-black and pro-gay media, politics, and education? Well, so was that black people doing that, or was that the system that did that? Or we even go down the line. Are black women to blame for the abortion rates, or is public policy that impoverished the black community to such extent that having an abortion seemed more economically favorable than raising a child she knew she wasn't equipped economically to take care of? So we could keep going down the line with this stuff. I'll even ask if black women are to blame for men gangbanging in prison, or is the government policy to mass incarcerate black men the underlying and by underfunding education, privatizing prisons to blame, to make prison a for-profit thing and not for punishment or for correction.
Well, we have been joined by the master teacher. What's good, master teacher? I think he's with us. I see his icon down there. Might be some technical problems because you know the ghetto ghost always strikes at TPOT. This is the land of the ghetto ghost.
And see, and what has happened, these, going back to the Wizard of Oz, these are cowardly lions who are so petrified in fear of this system, in their immense emotional insecurity of feeling helpless. It has caused an even greater capacity for critical thought to be crippled. And it says crippled to such extent that they lash out and blame black people for these intercultural wars. Oh, greetings, esteemed B.G.S.
No, we hear you, master teacher.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's a really, really complex thing. Okay, because there's two things that cause what goes on in the black community. Okay. Number one, because of our culture, because we have an extended family, and we're more of a social people. Okay, we belong in a rural environment. If you look at the crime rates in a rural environment versus the urban environment, as amongst black people, you can see the crime rate and all that other stuff go way, way down. Drug use, everything goes way, way down.
Oh, that's true. That's true too.
Because socially or culturally, we're not built to be in an urban environment. Every time you see black folks go into an urban environment, you see everything go the other way. Everything go the other way.
That's absolutely true, B.G.S., which is a point that I was actually going to get to, where if you have a group of people who come from a more agrarian society or a more egalitarian society in which the rural they've been incubated in a rural area, and then you have rapid urbanization, which pushes them into the urban center, you're going to create this dysfunction at a very rapid pace. When you really look at the black community, we've only been living in the urban environment for since the end of Jim Crow?
Yeah, really. I think the crossover point for black folks was in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken, where you actually had the crossover line from going mostly agrarian to mostly urban, whereas white folks come from Europe. They come from cities in Europe. They come from cities because they were forced into cities in the 15th and 16th centuries. They're actually forced into cities. So they become urban way back then. Like I said, when they brought us here, we were basically what? Rural.
Yeah, we were agrarian and
egalitarian. Yeah, we were agrarian.
And if I'm not mistaken, they got all of that shit out of their system back then, because if I remember, you're talking about around the time they were when they still had kings and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, when they still had kings, but remember there's something called the enclosure. Remember the enclosure process when they actually started cutting down the forest and then raising cattle and raising sheep. They forced all those peasants off the land, off the commons, and into the cities.
Yep, into the urban centers, and especially when you're taking people who are agrarian, and then you're forcing them into a hyper urbanized environment.
Yeah, and the only reason they forced us into the urban environment is because they no longer needed us on the land because of automation. Because because I had read that back in '93. Because I said, why was civil rights so effective in the '60s and not in the '40s or the '50s? I said because automation actually made black people redundant. So basically, they had to go into the city. They had to go in the urban environment. And then what? White folks had to figure it out. They had to figure it out because now you can't keep these people on the land, because if you keep them on the land,
then you can't make the farmland efficient. And number two, if they're down there without work, they're going to starve. So you had to bring them into the cities. So once you bring them into the cities, you have to mix them with white folks. And once you have to mix them with white folks, now you got to do what? Integrate these people, which is the whole point of integration. Integration was actually blending the two systems. Okay, civil rights and all that stuff was a compromise. It was a compromise. It wasn't what we asked for. We needed it because they were killing us. They were lynching us, doing all kind of heinous things to us. But so we actually needed that part. But the thing is, they also needed us to be integrated into the system. So so it took me a long time to figure, because they don't, a lot of times they don't tell us the truth about what real history is and what the policies are. But once you actually start reading real policies, oh shit, okay, it's obvious why they did it. It's obvious why white folks they didn't give us shit. Okay, we think they gave us something. No, they had to do this for us if they're going to integrate the two systems, because you had basically an agrarian feudal state down in the South where you had basically black folks living as serfs. They weren't really sharecroppers. That's just a nice name for it. Okay, you were serfs in a feudal system before you were slaves under a feudal system. So you had this democratic, capitalist North, for white folks, and you had a feudal system or serfs for black folks, which is just a step above slavery. But once, just like in Europe, once you don't need them anymore, you drive them off the land. They had to be forced into cities, and when you're forced into the cities, then what you have to do, you have to integrate the two systems. You have to integrate the two people. But you have these black folks that have never really lived in an urban environment, never adjusted to an urban environment, and now you got to force them into the cities without being trained. And that you have to, and culturally that takes time, because now you going from a extended family unit where you got mama, grandmama, cousins, uncles, play uncles, and all the other crap, with this big extended family that black folks have that allowed us to survive all these years. And then you force them into the urban center where a nuclear family actually works better, which we were not used to, absolutely not used to. And then, so now you have to culturally force a cultural change on these black folks after 200-300 years of being trained to live on the land as they are. And that's not an easy step. And now we're just halfway through the process. So there's going to be some dislocation. There's going to be all this angst and all this crap that's going to happen, because one, we're not used to it, and two, white folks have to figure it out. They've been trying to figure it out for the last 60 years. Really, they haven't gotten it right. If that makes sense to you guys.
So I'm glad you're here, Master Teacher, because we were talking earlier about, the quote unquote coons.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
which are basically the mulattoes used to be the coons.
Oh, okay.
Because mulattoes thought they were supposed to be accepted into the white class, and they weren't. So basically, that's where cooning actually comes from. No offense, Brother Valdez. I know you hate when I say that.
Oh no, I told you I'm not offended by it anymore, because I finally got the correct definition, which is, somebody who supposedly has one white parent and one black parent.
Yeah,
I don't even fall into that category.
Or the people that identify with their white side, which is what I call the mulatto class.
Yeah,
and you can go back, and basically that's what Du Bois was trying to do. That's like they were trying to end all the mulattoes, or the mulatto class, which were actually assigned to be the talented 10th or the upper class, would form the upper class. Black folks wanted to integrate because they wanted to move over, and slowly but surely, that's what over time, that's what they did. They always wanted to integrate. They wanted to integrate right after Reconstruction. So it's not, so integration is not new. They wanted to integrate back at the first civil rights after during
and white society kicked them back down.
And so it's been an ongoing battle. The NAACP was formed by who? The mulattoes and the Jewish folks. Why? Because the Jewish folks wanted to do what? Same thing that the mulattoes wanted to do.
So coons are the true black integrationalists then.
Pretty much, yeah. Those are the true black integrationists. You can see they talk all the white talking points.
Yeah. Now, see what I was saying. What I was trying to say is that if black people are not used to being in an urban center,
Mm-hmm.
but white folks have already had this in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And what you see going on with black people now, making this adjustment to being in an urban center with all of the violence and all of the different things.
Right.
What I was saying is that's something that white people have already done.
And but back if you look back in the first big immigration, right back in the mid 19th century, right, when you had the first big influx of what you call it, Europeans coming into into the north, into the industrial north, right. If you see all the violence, you see the out of wedlock births, you see the crime, you see everything that you see amongst black folks, in which Monahan said exactly the same thing. Monahan said, I said, the experience that black folks coming into the north or coming into the urban centers is the exact same thing that the immigrants coming into the coming from Europe into the United States. The exact same thing.
Like the movie Gangs of New York.
Gangs in New York.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, in fact, the exact same thing. There's one thing that there's one thing sometimes the Coons get right, and even what's his name, Thomas Sowell had right, even though one thing I don't like about Thomas Sowell, okay, you can tell he knows because he'll go right up to the point and he'll stop. And then he'll be correct, and then he'll start cooning.
Well, you know why he has to stop.
Yeah, I know why. Oh, he wanted to get his check signed.
Yeah, well, he wanted to get that paycheck.
He's a senior fellow over at the Hoover Institute.
Because
he doesn't write that Coonan stuff, he won't get paid.
Because I'm looking, I said, okay, because I'm with you. And then I said, come on, man.
That's why I said you should start with Race and Economics. It's his most honest book.
Okay.
Look. You get to talking that shit, and the dude get ready to write his check. Tom, you might want to pull it back next time, just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. It's a little bit. But I'm saying is, so you have coons. If you have a coon that's not getting paid, man, I always ask, why are you cooning? If you're not getting paid, why are you doing that? Why are you being dishonest? Because if you're getting paid, okay, bro, I can understand. I ain't gonna, I'm not gonna knock your hustle. Because even white folks know that you're hustling.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do. They pretend like they don't. They're like, oh, he's one of the good ones, just to patronize him. But
behind closed doors, they say you better watch that nigga.
Yeah. Like spook, because you could be a spook that's set by the door.
So we shouldn't be hating on the Coons and the Sambos, Master Teacher.
Au contraire, they're traitors. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Yeah. What I'm saying is, hating them is one thing, but the thing is, I say make Coons useful. Like I'm sure Cerulean would say the same thing. Make them useful.
Oh yeah, they're useful idiots. Like there's even certain arguments that I make that I know how to defeat. I never say them publicly because I don't know what white people is. Because white people are the biggest consumers of black media.
Oh, the easy way to defeat a coon is let him keep talking.
Yeah,
because he's gonna say too much.
Yep.
He's gonna say too much, and then you're gonna say, I didn't know that. Let him keep talking. Let him brag. Because some of those talking points that they weren't supposed to say out loud, supposed to remain in secret, will actually leak out. So Coon's actually useful.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
as for the Negro conservatives, which is really kind of an oxymoron because they just a black neoliberal in blackface. And they've basically been convinced that less fortunate Negroes are not only their own worst enemy, but their root problems, ignoring the controllers of, for instance, finance. Like they always, black folks destroying their own communities. Well, the problem is if you don't control the resources and the economy, and when I say resources, I mean human resources as well, meaning police. That's not really your community. That's just a place you're squatting in. And see, the Coon actually knows this.
Well, I was talking to Brother Cerulean earlier, Master Teacher, and I was telling him that, you know, we as black people, even though the coons have went off, you know, and they cooned on us, and you know, and if shit hits the fan, you know, we would take them back, even though they've cooned on us and betrayed us and were traitors to us. We would take them back
Conditionally, yes.
Yeah, we would take them back because
Oh yeah, you take them back with a side eye.
Yeah, but you're just like Edward Snowden. Okay, you're gonna take him in, but you're gonna tell us everything you know.
Yeah, but would we ever be able to trust them? I mean, they've already turned on us. So
no, you can't trust them. No, you gotta everything else. You gotta test everything they tell you.
Well, it's funny, you know, you talk about trust, right? Because that's dealing with that's a moral issue.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice one thing that coons have in common is that they love to make moral arguments for things that are not so moral. You know, like the whole poverty and crime thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing. That has nothing to do with morality. That has everything to do with economics and finance.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the thing is the only way you can argue morality is with your emotions, how you feel about something. Oh, I feel this is right, or I feel this is wrong. Those are all emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what governs morality. Which is why your brain can't process it. The only thing your brain processes is neurotransmitters that send signals to the brain from you know your senses, things that you can touch, taste, feel, or see.
And running through your socialized filters that are already set up.
That are already set up. They've already been conditioned into
Conditioning,
you
yeah.
by society, which is
Morality is conditioning because you have to, because if you don't condition a child, you know, will kill somebody and not feel anything because they've never been conditioned that murder is wrong. So morality is just conditioning.
So do you believe that a lot of white people are looking at us, the white power structure? Are they looking at us through the filter or through the lens of the coons, or are they just using the coons as a buffer to gauge, you know, what we're doing as black people?
no, they're. Oh, go ahead.
You know, I was going to say, what they use coons for so they can sleep at night. So in other words, to reinforce that they're doing. In other words, they're reinforcing that they're actually doing the right thing. In other words, yeah, we're oppressing these people, but they're actually doing it for the right reasons. So the coons help them sleep at night and reinforce the white conditioning that been taught to them through the socialization process, through schools and through the media and whatnot. So in other words, you socialize a thing one way, and then and sometimes morality does creep up that, okay, it's okay to abuse these people, but they're human too. So how can we abuse these people and not others? But the coons say, okay, coons will actually reinforce that it's okay to abuse black people.
Yeah, you know what? I actually had a discussion with who was that? I think it was Lady T was in one of the rooms on Discord, and she was talking about racism. And I said, everybody is conditioned in this country to either be racist or to accept racism as just the way it is.
Yep.
And I said, the reason why you know this is because if they didn't constantly program white people to continue to be racist, they might actually grow a conscience and decide to stop doing it. And like a lot of people didn't they had to think about it for a second, like, oh shit, you're actually right. Because you know, we live in a world that constantly in this society is constantly hitting us with morality. So that morality actually conflicts with the programming to be racist, because every once in a while you'll get the white person that's like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, you know, I didn't have anything to do with that back in the day, or, you know, they start getting conflicted about the shit. But then that same programming continues to put them in that position where they start thinking a certain way.
Yeah, because if really the biggest thing is that if you didn't program these people, white and black, you'd have tribalism, and for a country this big, man, there'd be constant battles back and
Oh
forth
yeah.
between
Oh yeah.
groups. And you have to get everybody on code for this big of a society, 312 million people to actually coexist. You have to get them on code, white folks included, because white folks have killed more of each other than anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people, and you know what? I'm glad you said that, because it kills me how these Negroes, they love to say, oh, black on black crime. I'm like, man, you have any idea? Like, I've witnessed it with my own, like, I've witnessed it with my own eyes, like white boys going ham. I was at a freaking pool hall in VA, and the white dudes, it was a white pool hall that's kind of in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the white boys, they was picking with this one white dude.
Mm-hmm.
And the white dude was like, that's all right, I'll be right back. That motherfucker came back like the Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you know, it even goes deeper than that. You know, I mentioned this before. It's easy to even kill the black on black crime argument, because when you're talking about black on black crime, what you're actually talking about is American on American crime.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you hear white people saying black on black crime, they are saying that is inherently racist, because they're saying that black people aren't Americans. Wink, wink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The biggest thing is if these disaffected white boys didn't commit suicide. Okay, if they were like black people and didn't commit suicide, man, you see a lot more dead white folks, because they would turn that, instead of turning it inward, they would turn it outward, and you don't want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I've said this before, is that there's nothing more dangerous than a white man who just got his welfare benefits cut off,
Mm.
and he's got a gun in one hand and a Bible.
Yep. Yep. Basically, yep. Praise the Lord, past
the ammunition.
Yeah, turn his benefits off if you want to.
Mm-hmm. They know that. They know that too. Yeah, they know that too.
Aren't these things just a lot of the things that go on within black society? These things just have been mimicked. They're mimics of white society, are they not? A lot of the things.
Well, the thing is, what Cerulean probably can speak to this. It's not that they're mimicking. This is just how people react underneath certain conditions. You put a human being in a certain condition, you can almost predict how they will respond.
Yeah, you know, I bring up the example.
You're borging out, Cerulean.
Yeah, you borged out.
For a month without food or water. They'll begin to eat their own shit to survive.
Yeah.
You can predict that that's going to happen. You might not be able to predict down to the hour or to the minute, but you know it's eventually going to happen.
So why aren't there more coons? Because the coons are rewarded with trinkets and money and all this kind of crap. Why do you brothers believe that there aren't more of them? Why aren't there more?
Because there's only so much you can actually change or adjust cultural conditioning. And a cultural conditioning takes a very long time to actually do. So in other words, if you take somebody that's been culturalized to actually be a collective culture, a collective society like black folks have, school cannot socialize everything out of that guy. So in other words, so most guys that are coons are very few. So so there's a benefit to it, and there's also a downside to it. Okay,
well,
go ahead.
I think it's actually I may be wrong, but I think it's actually a personality quirk. You know how you could have 20 guys. And of those 20 guys, you could give all of them alcohol, and one of them will become an alcoholic, like full-blown alcoholic, because he has an addictive personality. I think it's like that when it comes to coons. I think out of all of the guys, like you might have 20 guys, and all of them are receiving the same programming, and one of them will take it in completely, and it will assimilate them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh, not just assimilate them; it'll devour them.
Mm-hmm.
it'll become the one thing that they latch on to. It's the security blanket.
Mm.
You know, it's kind of like, you know, you take a child that's scared of the dark. He thinks there's a boogeyman in the closet,
Mm-hmm.
and he puts his head, see if there was really a boogeyman in that closet. That cover not going to really protect you, and that's really what the coon is afraid of that thing.
He's hiding under the blanket.
He's hiding under the blanket. That's the bosom. That's the bosom of white society, in which they think they have more protection on that side than within their own community.
Yeah, yeah. You look at somebody like OJ, where the conditioning is complete. You know, he can't survive outside of the white community. Because he's been perfectly, what is it, consumed by it.
Mm-hmm.
Or possessed. Let's put it.
Possessed.
Coon is a possession by white supremacy. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and we can't. No matter how much we beat him,
Yeah,
like Uncle Ruckus, you just can't get that. Just can't get that demon out of
that white demon out of him. Exactly.
Mhm. You know, and this actually relates to the subversion argument. A lot of people hear me talk about subversion.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
You borged out.
um,
You borged out. We lost about 20
I
seconds.
was just saying, a lot of people hear me just related to the subversion argument. A lot of people hear me talk about the ideological subversion and how it runs its path into cultural inversion,
Mm-hmm.
in which a group of people begin to point the finger at one another instead of the subverting party.
Mm-hmm.
See, when a person subverts a group or another group subverts a group, they can actually step out of the way and watch that group destroy itself. In fact, this is how the United States destabilizes foreign nations
Mm-hmm.
by raising up a rebel faction, subverting that rebel faction,
Mm-hmm.
and having it go after its own native government, which it's a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So coons are basically just weaponized Negroes then.
It will be literally they are weaponized Negroes.
Weaponized
It's
Negroes.
actually a microcosm of what's happening in the world.
Yeah, but it's also the you know, it's been led by it's always been there because, like I said, you always had the mulatto class that actually became the dominant the dominant class in black society. So that thread has always been there. So you have people that would actually lean toward that kind of ideology, and then our white society has to actually build upon that. So though that's there, it's there. It's actually there's a class system inside black society already. You know, started by the mulatto class. You know, after Reconstruction. Okay. So there is a class system. So they pick that's where the talented tenth actually comes from. So that's like most of the coons come out of where the talented tenth. Because they've been already preconditioned for it. So all you have to do is reinforce it.
Yeah, but they used to call them as the black educated elite.
Black educated elite.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the black educated elite? They want to join what? The other educated elite.
They want to be a part of the white educated elite.
White educated elite. Same thing with foreigners that come over here. Same thing.
Wow.
So they're already leaning that way, but that's only a small percentage of people.
So there's not just black coons, there's Asian coons, there's other coons too, right? Not just black.
Yeah. There's a, you know, they call the Asian coons bananas. Yellow on the outside, white on the inside. I mean, there's all kinds of them.
They call the Latin coons, they call them coconuts.
Coconuts, yeah. So in other words, it's basically when you have money and power, and people are already attracted to that money and power and whatnot, to the dominant class. So, but there's only a certain portion that actually can move up into that class.
That's just like I was watching. I used to watch Lost back in the day, and the Korean couple that was on there, they were showing their backstory, and the guy, he wanted to marry the girl, but her father was like a wealthy Korean, and he was like the son of like a fisherman, and they looked down on him because he was in a different class, and he literally had to, like, I think he had to kill somebody for her father, or did something dirty for her father just so he could have permission to marry her.
Yep.
You know, so it's like every society, like even when you have like Chinese people or all these different groups, they have a class system.
Most definitely do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the African caste system works a little bit differently, which is, you know, but you see it, but basically you see a caste system in any place you go, or a class system any place you go.
It's just like if all of a sudden there was no, like, a lot of black people don't understand that if there was no white people on the planet and we just inherited the United States, we would start classifying each other in different groups.
Yes, we would.
And there would be some sort of prejudice. There would be some sort of haves and have-nots.
Oh, there absolutely would, because that's really the nature of the human. You know, tribalism at its core. What's the difference between tribalism and the class system? It's the same thing by any other means.
Yeah. The way how you organize people.
You know, and it's so interesting because you'll have a lot of guys that will even parrot those talking points, like, "Oh, you guys being tribalists and all that." You know, and don't even understand that tribalism is actually the way of human nature.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely human nature.
That's why I would like to ask them, when's the last time you picked up a anthropology book?
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but that's the only, because that's the only way I understood it. Because if you don't, it doesn't make sense.
So we're stuck with our coons, huh? There's no getting rid of them.
No, you can't. No, you can't, unless you get rid of the power structure that supports them. That's the only way, and that's not going to happen anytime soon. And the only way to get rid of the coons is actually become one of them, which is slowly but surely going to happen. If we last another 4 generations, we will be absorbed into the white collective.
Oh,
yeah.
so most of us,
that reward and punishment system I was talking about. So the only way you can actually get rid of the coons in the society, or the traitors in the society, is if you control the punishment and reward apparatus. But you don't. Well, we don't control it as black people.
No, we don't.
So most of us will be coons eventually.
Well, there won't be any coons because we'll all be. We'll be separated. We'll be separated by class and not caste. You're going to get rid of the caste system, which is what they want to do anyway. Yeah. Well, if you look at, the thing is, most people, most black folks look at what we want and not what they want, because we've never examined what white people wanted from integration or civil rights. We never examined that. Once you start examining the other side of the chessboard, then you understand. Okay, now I understand the process. Because they had to want something from us, or want us to do something for them to give us these rewards or so we call it, which they didn't give us all the rewards that we were supposed to get. They actually gave most of it to their women to keep them happy.
Wow.
Which is why a lot of black folks say civil rights didn't work, because we didn't get all of what we were supposed to get. Even Dr. Claude Anderson says exactly the same thing. It's not that it didn't work. The thing is that we didn't get what was promised. We were promised. We gave them social integration, which is not really what we wanted, and they gave us jobs and access into economic. And we wanted economic integration. We didn't want social integration. But they wasn't going to give us economic integration without social integration. That was supposed to be the compromise. Guess what we got? Guess what we got and what we didn't get? Wow. We got social integration without economic integration, which is why black folks are where we are now.
Yeah.
In fact, I asked Dr. Claude Anderson, and he agreed, which is something you have to ask him, though. He's not going to just come out and say it in his speech. You have to ask him.
He'll answer it off camera, or
yeah. I mean, you have to ask him. If you ask him, he'll tell you. But the thing is, most black folks can't. Most black folks can't. Number one, can't handle it. Number two, they can't understand it.
So it was the lack of economic integration that hurt blacks the most, because we could have lived without the social integration, right?
Exactly.
Could have lived without
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. All we wanted is to be able to go to work, take care of our families, take care of our neighborhoods without the law coming in and actually upsetting our economy and upsetting our society. That's what we wanted. But they said you're not going to get that without what? Social integration.
Mm. Maybe if we had got the economic integration, we wouldn't even care about the coons. They could just be, whatever. We wouldn't
Well,
care,
if
right?
you if
Yeah,
you
go ahead,
had
Screw Julian.
yeah, if we had the economic integration, we could actually mitigate how many coons
Oh
want
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah. Because you just buy them off.
cross the
Okay.
chasm. Yeah,
Mm,
Yeah, we can just buy them
okay.
off
yeah,
like
because
the Jews do. The Jews just buy them off. Okay.
yeah, because a coon is a neoliberal by nature.
Yeah.
Uh, Neoliberals are bought and paid for,
Yeah.
kind of like a prostitute.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
which
Well,
I which I try to remind black women all the time. I said, stop getting behind black feminists. Okay, stop getting behind black feminists. If you really study about feminism and a black feminism, I mean, they study about it, but most black women don't. They just take the talking points whole cloth. If you actually get down and study it, you realize that black feminism was a bad deal because you got nothing for it. Got nothing
Yeah,
for it.
they treat the black feminists like hoes. Not even
Basically,
getting paid. Not even not even getting
yeah.
paid. Anything. And that's interesting because I've mentioned this before, where if black women or if women in general, really, like white feminist basis really for existence is the claim that they want to fight patriarchy, but in reality, the only way that you can have equity
Hmm.
in society is if you're making the action. Because if you remember the suffragist movement,
Hmm.
what did white women do? They walked off the job. They walked off the job. If white women want to fight patriarchy truly, or from women in general, they'd all walk off their jobs.
Right.
Because the only way you can actually have that job is if the company you're working for makes more off of your labor
Hmm.
than what you take home, which is what is the paradigm now. So if you walk off that job, you're not able to earn them that money,
wow.
which would collapse their economy and give you a very large bargaining chip.
Hmm.
Well, do you believe that being that black people, we don't have a lot of leverage, in economics, we don't have a lot of leverage because we're not organized. Maybe coons feel like they're using some type of leverage, because I think they think more of themselves as being better than
Hmm.
other black
Yes,
people,
they do.
as opposed to trying to, I don't know, be white or act white or
Well, if you really look at for instance, world affairs, the
Hmm.
time for cooning is actually over. It's just the coons that haven't gotten the memo.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's true because white society is basically run its course. As I've
Hmm.
mentioned many times,
Hmm.
white supremacy is a dying stage for a cancer patient, and you got a Chinese man smoking a cigar in the room.
Hmm.
And the
He borged out.
affairs anyway, haven't realized this mass displacement of power
Hmm.
by white society, and they're just basically struggling to hold on to the dream, the quote unquote dream.
And the thing is, white people know it.
White people absolutely know it, which
They
is
know it, which is what black people. The black people will not accept it, but white people know it. They know it. Every white person I talk to, they know it. They see it coming. They know it, but black people refuse to accept it.
wow.
yeah, they refuse to accept this. Um, in order to make progress, requires a great deal of organization which is you hear talked about a lot. I know there's some people who think that we should just ignore them and all that. Uh, my answer to that was, what happens when you ignore an infection?
Yeah, it metastasizes.
It metastasizes, it
Hmm.
spreads, infects other parts of the body.
Hmm.
And so, like any other infection, the coon is something that you can't ignore.
Agreed. I agree. You can't
In fact, you
ignore.
should have a closer eye on those. You know, the Art of War stipulates that you should keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I mean, you should keep a more watchful eye on those who you suspect will sell you out.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure you have some spies that uh find their way into the next Coon convention.
keep
Make
it keep a tight
Yeah,
rein on a coon. It's like just like riding on the tiger's back. Got to keep a tight rein on him.
You
yeah. As a matter of
understand?
fact, you hear 'em, you hear especially a lot of the so-called black conservatives, neoliberals in blackface.
Hmm.
Um, they spew these white supremacist talking points and they sell it as if they are truly concerned for the black community. But the truth is, if they were truly concerned, while they're rubbing elbows with white folks and yakking it up, they'd be going to feed that information back to the community and trying to organize it. But they don't, because
Mhm.
they look down on their nose at the community which they actually come from, that nurtured them.
I don't know,
I
man.
think of how disappointing as a parent that someone would have to be to put all of this work into their child,
Hmm.
and then when their child gets older and grow up, to sell out to the system and then begin to criticize those parents which they come from, which is basically what a coon does.
Hmm.
Well, I know I'm going to keep my eye on them. And yeah, I'm going to keep my eye on them. And,
Hmm.
we coming to the end of the show. I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. I want to thank my mods. I want to thank all the viewers. And I definitely want to thank Brother Valdez, Brother
Appreciate it, bro.
Cerulean,
Hmm.
and the master teacher for
Hmm.
coming
No
through.
problem.
Tomorrow, make sure you tune in tomorrow, because tomorrow, live and direct, we will have the Unicorn 4. And tomorrow's subject, y'all, is exclusive, explicit expectations. It's going to be a wicked show tomorrow, y'all. It's going to
You,
be
you,
wicked.
you know what, X? You know what, X? Every time you
Yes, master teacher.
last time you did that, it carried over into my hangout.
Yeah,
I thought I was gonna have to take it down. It got so explicit, boy. It got
yeah, boy.
you
Tomorrow's
got them
gonna be
fired up.
wicked.
You got them fired up, X, last time.
Yeah, man. I do what I can, master teacher. I do what I can. Yeah, it's gonna be wicked tomorrow, y'all. The 4 unicorns live. Lady Ming, Lady Kendra, Lady Cats, and Lady Classic.
Did you do a promo, X, so I can actually
Oh yeah, I
okay,
did a
okay,
promo.
okay. Well, I'll actually feature it on my channel.
Oh, I appreciate that, master
Mhm.
teacher. I do. Yeah, I did a promo on it, little
Okay.
90-second joint on it. So everyone can get a chance to look at that. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to this here channel.
Hmm.
Okay.
And
Make
also
sure,
pass the hat if you can.
yeah,
No.
drop a
If
few coins
if you
in the bucket.
if you can't drop no coins, put some energy into the room. Because
Exactly.
see X, I was getting ready. I was looking at the likes. I said I was gonna break out my polka music because that's the only way Negroes actually hit the like button. If I break out the Lawrence Welk.
Yeah, I've been telling them all. I've been telling them all night, master teacher, to hit that button. It only takes a second of
Yeah,
your
yeah,
time.
yeah. They ain't gonna listen. But I said
You
if you start playing polka music
put
and
it
they
in
see
there.
they see little white people dancing in those funny heels and funny dresses, they hit the like button.
Yeah,
With a little banjo on the knee.
Oh no, no accordion. No, accordion. We
Oh,
gotta have
accordion.
accordion. Yeah, we have to have accordion. No, a banjo's not good enough.
I mean,
They might like a banjo, but an
if
accordion.
if you don't want to drop a few dimes in the bucket, at least drop a like on the page.
Drop
I
a
mean,
like on
come
the page.
on, God, that don't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you anything.
Hmm.
And like I said before, make sure you like, share, subscribe to this here channel, and make sure you check us out. Proper Thought Series on Facebook. That's Proper Thought Series on Facebook. That's our main page. You can catch up to all the stuff that I put on the YouTube channels and on the site. You can check out Dark Exodus and the Unicorn 4 links on that page. And make sure you stop by the TPOT bandwagon page. There's always some good stuff over there. And we also have a Proper Thought Series fan group page. Request to be a member. I'm sure you can get in. All types of stuff get posted on there at all times. And you can check us out on WhatsApp and Instagram. That's Proper Thought on Instagram. And make sure you follow us on Twitter. That's at TPOT Media on Twitter. Once again, that's at TPOT Media on Twitter. And I keep telling you, follow me on Twitter or I'm going to haunt you in your sleep. Make sure, like I said before, make sure you stop by tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time for the Unicorn 4. We're going to have a wicked show tomorrow. Exclusive, explicit expectation. It's going to be wild. Make sure you are there. Once again, I'd like to thank Brother Valdez, Brother Cerulean Gray, and the master teacher for blessing by my stream one more time. I appreciate it, master teacher. I do. With that, I will leave you with 3 words, like I always do. Open
your mind.
Your mind. And we out of here, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace, folks.
Open your mind.
Only